Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. This reading is for October 31st to November 6th. And then we're also going to be covering the rest of November today because I like to do that at the beginning of the months so that we can get prepared for the energies ahead. This week, of course, we're coming off of, such an eclipse. I was going to say an eclipse overload, and that can definitely be the feeling of energy around eclipses. We get the eclipse cycles twice a year, and then we get 2 eclipses normally with each of those eclipse cycles. So we had the full moon solar eclipse back on October 14th. That was so insanely intense here in my area. In Oregon, we had that actually go through, and we were able to visually see that. Then we had the lunar eclipse on October 28th, and that's an opposing energy there. So that lunar eclipse was seen on the opposite side of the planet. So not getting an actual view of that, but feeling the energies and the buildup of a full moon that we're still coming off of. Any messages that come through during eclipses, anything that is sort of comes up from the deep, we kind of rustle our feathers a bit during eclipses. That's what happens. The energy is just a little intense. And so we're kind of headed in a lot of different directions and trying different things, to work with the energies and try and make sense of it all. And so if it feels like kind of a whirlwind over the past month, that's super typical with eclipse energy. And so we go into the week, coming off of all of that. And now we're coming off of the full moon, and the moon starts to wane, and the energies start to wane, and we start to prepare for that next lunar cycle. But there's a few little sweet spots this week, although it does seem that there is some sort of tougher energies, and then there's some sweet spots this week. So we'll get into that right now. So on October 31st, Venus is making a trine with Uranus, and this is one of the little sweet spots of the week, in my opinion. Tuesday the 31st is Venus is our planet of pleasure and the planet of love and of all the good things and things that taste good, smell good, look good. And so Tuesday, this energy is coming into a trine with Uranus, and that just brings surprises. Trines, though, are positive energies. Anytime that Venus, the planet of love, is in a trine with another planet, it's usually bringing in something spontaneously pleasurable. And so that's not too bad, is it? Spontaneous pleasures. That's sort of the name of the game on Tuesday, the 31st. And then we move into the month of November, and we, of course, are coming off of this big energy of the eclipses, and we come into a pretty big energy on November 2nd, and this is when the sun moves into an opposition with Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, and the sun carries all the weight of this entire solar system with it being the center. And so these two big energies come into an opposition, which means that they're on the opposite ends of the chart. The sun's way on one side, Jupiter's way on the other, and they're literally the furthest away from each other that they can possibly get. But in terms of astronomy and how the planets are all lining up, Jupiter is actually at this point going to be in its perihelion, which is when it's closest to the Earth. And so Jupiter is going to be opposing the sun, super far away from its, where it gets all of its power from, where that big Jupiter, of course, all planets, just reflecting sunlight back, right? So as they get further away, there's less sunlight to reflect back. So Jupiter's like trying to connect with the sun, stay connected with that source light. And Jupiter's close to the Earth too. So we're kind of feeling this a little bit more here on Earth as Jupiter's closer in. And so Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius. And so Sagittarius folks and also Pisces, Jupiter was the ruler of Pisces before Neptune. And so Sagittarius, Pisces, these two signs can be feeling a lot while Jupiter comes in pretty close to the Earth, and we feel a lot of this Jupiter energy. But the big circumstances come into play on Thursday evening, and this is pretty late in the evening when the sun is in a direct opposition to Jupiter. And these are just big energies opposing each other. So it could feel on Thursday evening. And of course, these are pretty slow moving energies. So we could be feeling this for days coming in, days coming out. Basically, this whole week is around this oppositional energy of these big archetypes. And so if, you find yourself in a circumstance on Thursday or this week where it just feels like there's just opposing energy and like it's just gets fiery, and because these are fiery energies, the sun, of course, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, which is a fire sign and is one of the most brutally honest fire signs also. So with Jupiter can come honesty, can come the truth, but also can come wisdom. Jupiter houses like this grand view, has this vision. Jupiter has a vision, and Sagittarius and Pisces folks hold the ability to have this vision also that Jupiter carries. And it's just like, I can see farther out, okay, yeah, this is going on, but Jupiter has the ability to see a grander vision. So if we can connect with that energy, this week, I think that, things should go pretty well because, oppositions are healthy when people share their opinions, and maybe they're strong held opinions and are fiery and are opposing. But this is a place where people can come to understanding and can grow and can learn. And Jupiter also is a representation of higher wisdom and knowledge, higher knowledge. Sagittarius rules higher education. And a lot of like professors and college professors and doctors and doctorates and teachers at high levels probably have a lot of Sagittarius energies. House with them the ability to learn from these big opposing opinions. And then as we move later into the week, November 3rd, we get a little more of this blast of sort of another sweet spot, another sweet pocket. Wednesday morning, there's a couple of squares that the moon is making on November 1st, and Mercury's in a quincunx that morning also. And so that is sort of a little tougher point. Thursday, we have that oppositional energy. Friday, we come into a nice sort of smoother morning with the moon coming into trines and sextiles with planets, which are a little more friendly energies. Squares are great. We need to, again, like squares and oppositions, we need to have those types of interactions so that we can learn and grow and move forward. But it's kind of nice when things just are a little smoother, and trines and sextiles offer that type of energy. So Friday morning and most of the day on Friday is really nice. And then Friday evening, we have another oppositional energy. And it's not that it can't be nice, because it does involve Venus again. And Venus is the planet of love, and she wants like things to be pleasurable. We're in an opposition here, Venus with the planet of Neptune. Neptune is a really interesting, beautiful feminine energy known as it's the ruler of Pisces, but Venus and Neptune have a special interaction between them. Neptune's kind of like the graduated big sister of Venus. They have a harmonious thing between them. Mars and Pluto also have this big brother, little brother energy, and that leaves Mercury and Uranus that also have this interaction, the personal planets and these further out planets. So Neptune and Venus have a special connection. Venus is like the young lover. She is always wants things to be pleasurable and wants things to be good. And Neptune is like a graduated feminine lover, and she is a little more wise, and she has more of those grander visions in mind and is like an unconditional love. So if Venus is like the young, lovable, sweet maiden, Neptune is kind of like the grandmother who teaches you what love is all about and loves you unconditionally, and has all these beautiful stories and things to her that make her so wonderful. And so Neptune is in Pisces right now and rules the sign of Pisces. So Neptune's feeling super strong. Neptune is all about hopes, dreams, desires. This is a watery energy. This is where unconditional love is known and is held up as an archetype here with Neptune. So Venus in an opposition with Neptune, again, like we need these oppositional energies to bring understanding and more love into these situations. So I think that this is going to ultimately prove to be pretty good. This also could just feel kind of like, okay, like agree to disagree, maybe possibly, but I feel like there are some things to be taught to Venus by Neptune here. So stay open to like learning lessons from older women this week, or even older women learning things from younger women, or this isn't even just women, but just feminine energies. And so that's going to be very interesting. And I'm definitely looking forward to diving into some of these oppositions myself. I mean, I am a Sagittarius, so I do love me a good, just a good opposition. Like it's good, it's healthy. Like I actually very often play the devil's advocate. And I don't even, I don't mean it. I'm not like taking those opinions or those things as my side. I just really like challenging that and thinking about things outside of like my own box. And so that's a very Sagittarius thing, I think. And moving into the weekend on November 4th. On November 4th, we have Saturn, the planet of Saturn, stationing direct. And so this having a big effect on the energy of the week. Saturn is the planet of responsibility. Saturn is the planet of boundaries and rules, and also the Time Lord. This is the planet of karma. And so Saturn is kind of a more, it's like a heavier sort of energy, since it deals with the responsibilities that we have in life and things that we feel responsible for. This is when we have a planet stationing retrograde or direct. These are moments in time when the planet visually looks in the sky like it is stopping, and then it's going to start moving forward again through the zodiac. It's been moving backwards for quite a while. And the last time that Saturn was at 0 degrees, 30 minutes of Pisces was back in March of this year, March 11th, 12th of 2023. If you can think back to that time, we were doing something. We were dealing with something in regards to Saturnian themes around Saturn, our responsibilities, our karma. And now that Saturn has reached this exact point again, we are being reminded of these things that we started, things that we were talking about back in March or beginning. These things are coming back. They're coming to fruition. They are starting to move forward again. And so this brings with it Saturn stationing direct, the opportunity to make decisions. It's basically like we've been thinking about these things for a long time. And once Saturn stations and starts moving forward, that is the time when we start making decisions, when we start learning how to use our time really much more wisely. When Saturn is kind of in retrograde, when Saturn's in retrograde, we kind of lose the ability to work with time as well as we really want to. But we've been thinking about a lot of things since March, and we've been going back and mulling over these ideas. And now it's time, Saturn stationing direct, and don't do anything rash, but now it's time to start making the decisions and to move forward. So we'll be working with Saturn direct energy for a while. This is a slow moving energy, but we're going to feel some type of reality check this week with Saturn stationing direct. Sunday, November 5th. This is another day with squares all over it. This is maybe a little bit of a hot pocket of part of the weekend, November 5th. This is the day when the sun and the moon have a square, and then the moon goes into a square with Mars, Uranus, and Mercury all that day. Mars also in a quincunx, and so that's just a heavier day. If Sunday the 5th doesn't really feel good, just wait until that energy dissipates, because it certainly will. And as we start to move through the month of November, we're going to start to feel some more changes to the mood, some more changes to the vibe, because on November 8th, Venus is going to move into her home sign of Libra. And this is going to be a nice, sweet spot for Venus to be for the second part of Scorpio season and the beginning of Sagittarius season. And then the very next day on November 9th, Mercury moves into Sagittarius. And this is sort of giving a little bit of a preemptive idea to what Sagittarius season is going to be offering. Mercury is going to be moved on by the time the sun moves into Sag, but we will be working with also some other energies coming up on November 11th. This is when Mars comes into an opposition with Uranus. And so we've talked about oppositional energies. Mars is just a fiery energy, and it's our physical body. And whenever it comes into any big opposition or square or trine even with the spontaneous planet of Uranus, it's kind of like something like really random happens. And so this is kind of a day where November 11th, we want to make sure that if we are going to do something spontaneously, that it is not something that we're going to regret later on, because Mars in an opposition to Uranus on November 11th is going to potentially have the effect that we might do something that's not super well thought out. But on the 13th, we come to the new moon in Scorpio. And this is like a good culmination point for Scorpio season. This is in the last week before the sun moves into Sag. And so we've been learning the lessons that Scorpio season has been teaching us. Everything has slowed down quite a bit. And there is going to be a signature on this new moon in Scorpio. This one is going to have Uranus really close by in play. And so there could be a lot of spontaneity to the middle of November, coming from that opposition with Mars and then being super involved in this new moon. The middle of November could have some super surprises to it. And then later on in the month of November, the sun moves into Sagittarius on the 22nd. And that's going to begin Sagittarius season. We move into also the time when we have the lowest light of the year. And so things get a little darker and we start to go inside a lot more during Sagittarius season. It's more about inner visions when we're dealing with Sagittarius energy. But then Mars moves into the sign of Sag on the 24th, really bringing fire into the Sagittarius season. And so, wow, for those Saggies out there, it's going to be an exciting one. There's going to be a lot of energy available to you during Sagittarius season to take physical action to move forward, but also just for everyone, because Mars in a fire sign is great for everyone. And this is where if we feel like we need to have a fire lit underneath our you-know-whats, it will happen. So this is definitely going to be an interesting month, November, and it's going to definitely feel as though it starts a little slow, and then come mid-month, there's going to be a big surprises happening, and then it's going to go out like with a lot of fire. And so I will be here weekly here in the cosmic community, and I appreciate you being tuned in, and I hope that you have a fantastic start to November, and I will chat with you next week. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.